Recent time we are observing high number of push-in by India, which they are calling pushback of illegal Bangladeshi. Almost 1600 people, mostly Bengali-speaking Muslims, have been pushed into Bangladesh in 50 days since 4th May 2025. Assam border is one of the hot spots where it is happening. Bidhayak Das, author, journalist and researcher from Assam, has spoken to the cover story about the issue, touching upon the historical background behind politics and the way forward.
The recent talk around Assam's pushback policy of the so-called illegal migrants, or more precisely declared foreigners, isn't new. Assam in fact has been dealing with this issue for the past many decades. After the implementation of the Assam Accord in 1985, so far around 156,000 people have been identified as illegal foreigners. And by its own admission, the Assam government on the 13th of September 2023 has said that it has deported 30,000 people across the border to Bangladesh. But the real question is, how many of those documented, or rather deported, have been identified as declared foreigners by a foreigners tribunal in Assam? Now, there is a distinction between declared foreigners and undocumented migrants. Undocumented migrants are those that usually cross over from one side of the border to the other regularly, and the state terms them as illegal migrants, and they could be recent migrants. But in comparison, declared foreigners, most of whom are poor, if not all of them, they are uneducated and they have lived in Assam for decades, and most of them live along flood-prone areas along the shores of the river Brahmaputra. And more often than not, their homes and their documents, which is vital to their identity, get washed off by the flood waters. So this makes it extremely difficult for them to prove their identity. For whatever documentation they have with them or they would have saved, sometimes is not enough for them to convince the foreigners tribunal or other mechanisms like the NRC that they are Indians, but they don't have sufficient documents to prove their claim and to prove that they, their families or their ancestors have been in Assam before the 25th of March 1971, which is the cutoff date defined under Section 6A of the Assam Accord and the amended Citizenship Act of 1985 and 86. Now, just because someone is declared a foreigner by a tribunal doesn't mean they automatically become a citizen of another country. So when someone is declared a foreigner, it doesn't mean that Bangladesh will accept them, or that even they would identify with Bangladesh to begin with. What's worrying now is that this pushback policy seems to be resurfacing just before an election year. But beyond the politics, the biggest concern is the weakening of a due process of law. It will also be important for us to understand that since around 2013, we haven't seen many cases of people being dumped in no man's land along the Indo or India-Bangladesh border. Deportations, when they did happen after 2013, after a lot of pressure and opposition from several stakeholders in several quarters, became more formal. So therefore the channel of repatriating people or deporting people were formal, with Bangladesh becoming the receiving country of people that were identified by India either in Assam or in Bengal or in any other part of the country as an illegal, quote unquote, illegal immigrant or an undocumented migrant, and Bangladesh accepting the person or persons as citizens of their country. But lately, there have been disturbing reports and videos emerging of people being pushed across the border only for Bangladesh this time to refuse them entry. And what this means is that these people are again left stranded in the no man's land along the international border between India and Bangladesh. Pushback without tribunal order or judicial oversight is a serious problem.
Indian security forces pushed me over at gunpoint. I spent 2 days without food or drinking water. I was in the middle of a field in knee-deep water teeming with mosquitoes and leeches.
Lal Bano is inconsolable. Her 62-year-old son Abdul Latif has been missing for days, accused of being an illegal Bangladeshi in Assam.
Petitions are already in the Honorable Supreme Court, which cautions that these actions may violate Article 14, Article 21 and Article 22 of the Constitution of India, which gives us our core fundamental rights. Now, all of this, of course, is tied to a larger political and historical context. We have to all but agree that migration from Bangladesh has been a problem. It has happened. It keeps happening. And of late, after the recent political situation in Bangladesh, there have been attempts by people from across Bangladesh to infiltrate into India. Now, these facts cannot be denied. And yes, we also have to remember that the anti-foreigner movement has shaped how we think about citizenship in Assam today. Now, these things are undeniable. So therefore, what I can say today is that what we need today isn't just tighter fences or louder slogans, but a fair, humane, and legally sound approach. Due process cannot be ignored. Every person's case must be judged with care, not rushed or politicized.